Well, holy Helen, let's make some cookies. They've asked me to make sugar cookies at the pub this week to sell at the coffee shop. And so I'm going to try out a couple sugar cookie recipes, the jumbo kind. And I found one online that looked like it was interesting and I might want to try it out. It calls for 2 sticks of butter, but I am halving it because I made a ton of cupcakes this morning and cake pops, and my children wanted even more cupcakes, so I made some more after that. And a girl doesn't need all this sitting around all the time, let me tell you. So I'm going to mix some white sugar with some molasses after I get that butter all squared away. And then I'm going to whip that baby up until she gets light and fluffy. And then right after that, you will see me turn the mixer off and we will add an egg and we're going to mix that up until it's just smooth. Now we're going to start working on our dry ingredients, and we're going to sift all those together, make sure there's no lumps or bumps in them. We're going to mix together 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, a full cup of all-purpose flour, a 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Look at that. That's a lot of flour. And then we're going to take our baking soda. There's no baking powder in this one. That was very interesting to me because I usually like a cookie with baking powder and baking soda, but this one just has the soda, and that'd be 1/2 teaspoon going in there. So we are going to put that, and then there's 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to make a mess all over this table because we don't quite know how to sift into a bowl, and we always grab a bowl that's too small for the job. So here we go. Let's just shake that all over the table. Yeah, there we go. See? Just making snow everywhere. A nice little mess to clean up later. Okay, and then we are going to move back to the mixer. Here we are back over at the mixer, remembering that we did not put any vanilla in before, and we're not going to measure her because she doesn't need any measuring. So we are mixing the vanilla in just until everything is cohesive, and having no patience whatsoever to mix on a low speed. So we mix her on high, and then the very next thing we need to do is add our flour mixture. And so I'm going to move the paddle out of the way so I don't get it everywhere. And then we're going to slowly mix that in because we do not want any gluten to develop in these cookies because that would make them bready. And nobody likes a bready cookie, or at least nobody I know likes a bready cookie. So we're just going to mix this for a bit. So now is everybody's favorite time other than eating time. This is shaping and baking. So what I'm doing today is using a large cookie scoop, and this recipe is supposed to make 5 cookies, but it actually made 6. So I am just going to take rounded scoopfuls of the cookie dough, roll them in the blue sprinkles you see there in the bottom left hand corner, well, now on the cookie sheet. So you're going to roll them all around in there, and yes, I have washed my hands, so we don't need to have gloves right now. And then with this recipe, you're supposed to flatten them out, and that way that it will help them spread a little bit in the oven. I did roll them as hard as I could to try and get as much sugar on there as possible. Now, this will not be what I use at the pub. I don't like the way these sprinkles turned out at the end. The blue just does not bake up well. So this was just more on my first go round. I was using blue, and on the second go round I was using purple so that I knew which recipe was which. And the blue won out by far at the end of the night. What I did with this next scoop, I did not flatten it because I just wanted to see, hey, what's going to happen if I don't? And I can tell you, it was not good. So you do need to follow the recipe sometimes. And I did flatten the rest of them. I just waited until the end to do so. So you're going to think I didn't, but I did. And so then I went to the oven with these guys and I baked them at 350 for 15 minutes. And they are kind of falling apart a little bit, so depending on your oven, you might need a few more minutes in the oven, but I also didn't want to make them hard, dry, crunchy, you know, all the things you don't really want in a sugar cookie, or I don't. So I think I'm going to leave them the way that they are, and we're going to enjoy them just that way. So anyway, thanks for coming along with me, and I will show you a picture of the results at the end. Look at me, checking the recipe now after all the cookies are made. So these are our final results after 15 minutes in the oven. You can tell the top right hand, the one I didn't push down, that one definitely didn't turn out as well as the rest of them did. So follow the recipe on that one. So thanks for joining me on my sugar cookie testing run. And I guess we have found the one that's going to be used this week and found what I should and should not do. This is Holy Helen at Holy Helen Cooks, and thank you for joining me. Like and subscribe and do all the things, and come follow us in our imperfect life at some other juncture. Good night.